What do you guys think? Do you think that gearbox is good enough? I reckon so. Well, welcome back to Gary's Practical Workshop. It's been a while. I'm not going to make any excuses. I haven't been feeling too good. And to be honest with you, when you're not feeling as you should feel, you don't feel like putting all the camera gear together, taking shots, setting it up and doing what you need to do in order to get the footage that you want to put on the channel. But listen, thanks all of you for your comments, and thanks for your subscriptions, and thanks for viewing some of the clips we put up there, some of the videos. Today I'm going to see if I can just set all this up, just do a test run and close the cases, but we'll see how we go on this. I'm not predicting any issues. I've checked as much as I can check. The gearbox I think is in good order, but it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. What would you do? The big ends are sound, there's no play in them. You do get a little bit of end float, which you've got to expect, but very, very little. This is a new cam chain. This come through from Z Power. Thanks to the guys at Z Power for that one. And there's probably a few more parts I'm going to talk to them about. One of the things I really am concerned about, and I hope they've got it, I'm pretty sure they will have, because they got most things for Z1s. Let me just get me rag a minute, clean me fingers. I'll come over to the camera so you can see what I mean. Now this is, can you guys see that? This is the gauze for the oil pump, and that's pushed into this stamped out holder. It's not too bad considering it's 50 odd years of age. I've cleaned it out quite a lot, but this gasket, I think it may be rubber. I'm pretty sure it's rubber. As you can see, it's not in one piece, and it should be, and it locates into the oil pump here. I've left the screws in there so I don't lose them, but it locates into that, so it makes a good seal when it sits on the base here. Obviously you don't want it pulling air, and you don't want that not sealing, because otherwise you're going to end up with bringing up all sorts of debris and filings and what have you, if there's any in the engine, up into the oil ways. So that's a big no-no. So I'm going to talk to Dave and Phil at Z1 Power and see if I can get this particular seal for that gauze. Now it may well be that I have to buy the gauze in one complete unit, which if I have to, then I have to, but that's where we are at the moment. The oil pump, I've stripped the oil pump, checked out all the clearances, and it's pretty good. The only thing I do need to do is to put an oil gasket on there. That should come apart actually. It was a bit tight to get apart, but it does come apart. And this is obviously a pretty important part of the whole engine. It does tend to get overlooked in some cases, but if this doesn't work, then obviously you're going to cause major damage on your engine, because without this you've got no lube, as it were, going around all those intricate parts into the bearings, the head, the works. So that's where we are with that. I can't get that apart at the moment, but it does come apart. It needs just a little bit of gentle persuasion, I think. So there we are. We'll put that one down. I'm going to put these back over on the tray. I think I might have showed you this in an earlier video. All the components in here are done. I mustn't forget these O-rings. These are very, very important parts to go in, and the oil pump sits there like this. Oil pump sits here, just like this. Obviously the gears are on there, you can see the gears over there, you might be able to see them, it slots into there like that, bolts in. And it's really important to get the O-ring in there. It's a really thick O-ring, because otherwise, again, you're going to lose oil pressure, and that's not something we want. Let's put that back. Just to recap, I've got some work to do on all the components that came out of the bike when we stripped it. Just to give you some idea, if you go back into one of the earlier videos, you might hear me ranting on about this. This is the kickstart shaft, and it's got to go in the right way, otherwise you're going to be in all sorts of problems if you want to use the kickstart, and probably the engine would run with a lot of noise as well. That's if it would run right. It can cause major problems, in other words, if you don't get it in the right way. There's a lot of rust on here, and this all needs to be cleaned up. And this is something I'm going to do today with a drill and a wire brush. Just clean all that up. From behind this bit where the seal is, you can just about see the seal line there. It seems to be okay, it's quite clean. There's a little bit of sealant, I think this is sealant actually, when they put it together in the factory. You can just see it there on that bearing. There it is, that line there. But that'll all come up nice and clean and tidy. And this is just, I think this is just a bush bearing, because you don't really use the kickstart a lot. So I just take it that Kawasaki have just put a bush on there. We might undo that circlip actually and take that off just to check it. It feels pretty good though, it does feel good. So there's that. All the other little small parts need cleaning up. Auto advance mechanism. Sorry about the aeroplanes. We've also got one of the jockey, I call it the jockey wheel for the cam chain. We're going to renew that as well, because if you look at that, that's pretty chewed up on the outside where the middle of the chain rubs on it. So we'll probably renew that one. What else we got in there? Kickstart mechanism. I've cleaned all this up. This didn't need a lot of work to be done on it anyway, really. You've got your springs there which hold it all together. And obviously make sure that it bites on the drum. And that should obviously then move as you turn, that way round, isn't it? Yeah, as you move the gear, it moves like that, and it basically pulls the drum round to select the appropriate gear that you want. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the selectors. If we look in here, I don't know if you can see from there. Let me take you off the pod for this one. It's going to might jump about a little bit. We've got our selectors there on the drum. This is the drum I was telling you about, that the detent arm, this one over here, pulls round and selects the appropriate gear. And obviously there's I don't quite know what you'd call that actually, lock-in mechanism to keep it from jumping gears, and it's on a spring there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little spring down there. I don't know if you can see that. These are all really in good order. They are very nice indeed. They move very freely on the shaft. There's not the play that you might expect with a bike of 50 years of age. This one here is the lock-in pin for the drum, and as you can see there, I've already brought the tab washer up to lock it in. You can take it apart in two pieces, but I tend to thread lock them, just the top one, because the tab washer holds that one in there, so that one's in there pretty tight. If we turn this lot over, the other thing that's important is the ball bearing in there. This is the emergency safety valve for oil. If the pump screws up or something goes wrong, it can bypass the oil, a certain valve, and it allows the engine to get oil rather than starving it. So this is important, that little ball bearing. It goes in from the other side. I'll show you that in a second. Just put your back Just going to put you back in the pod a sec. So I'm going to turn it all over now. So we can see the selectors. They just flop over all over the place because there's nothing holding them in place because the gearbox is not there. But normally they would sit about there. And as you can see, as we move this drum, don't know if I can actually do it, you'll see that the selectors will move along this shaft as this rotates, because it's got cutouts here which guide the selector to enable the selectors to select the appropriate gear. It's quite a clever system. It's not unique. I mean, this system I think has been employed on most motorcycles, and I think they put much the same type of system in certain race cars or rally cars, or used to. I mean, I think another name for this idea is a sequential box, because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on how many gears you've got, rather than the standard H configuration of a normal car. So it works quite well, and I think that the gears themselves, they engage pretty well, because if we look over here, you've got your dog teeth on there, and as they slide backwards and forwards from the selectors, it engages on the dog teeth. For those of you who don't know about it, that's roughly how it works. And you've got usually 3 moving gears. Is it 3 moving? 1, 2, 3. The others are fixed on the shaft. And that's how you get your gears. Let's put you back on the pod. So, talking about that ball bearing, as I was saying earlier, the release pressure switch, I think they call it, or something like that. It's bolted in there. Again, I'll take you off the pod. Should have not put you back really. It's bolted in there, and there's a spring inside there that pushes down on that ball bearing. You can see the oil way here going down across that. If the oil pump or something goes, not so much the oil pump, if there is a blockage on the oil ways with the filter, that's it, the filter, it bypasses all that and it allows the oil to come up through there or down through there, saving the engine really. But obviously it's not really a good idea to let it get like that. If you keep on top of the engine with oil change and filter change, you should be fine anyway. But it's a safety system. It is a safety system. There it is there, that little chap. So there's all the selectors. I've gone through that, so that's that. I'm very pleased with the way this has all come about, with the condition, after Jake, who I think was, I put the name of the company in an earlier video, did all the aqua blasting. He did a pretty stonking job actually. Yeah, I was quite pleased with it. When it came back, I looked at it all, and I have to say it was very, very clean and tidy. There's a few little bits, but you'd never get everything you could spend. If you're doing it yourself, you've got your own cabinet, then obviously you can go back and clean off the bits you may have missed during the process. But generally speaking, I'd say it's 99% brilliant. Didn't miss hardly anything at all. Let's put this on top of the engine and see how it fits. Can you guys see that? I think you can. Do you know, I've never worked out how to zoom in on this camera. I much prefer to use my phone, because my phone is so much easier, there's less faffing around. But let's see how we go. Ignore the phone, it's just telling me I've got email. Right. I'm going to turn it upside down, and as I put this on, I need to get these all in line. So here we go. I'm going to take that oil ring out actually, because I don't want to crush it. Put that one over there. This is just a dummy run. Now, don't let it drop all the way down. I want to line up my selectors. That's home. So let's have a look now. Let's take you off the pod again. Now I don't know when you'll be able to see that. This selector is locked into a gear down there. I don't know whether you'll be able to see that actually, because it's pretty dark in that hole. Let's turn the main light on and see what we got. Might get strobing. Well, that may be better. That selector there is locked into a gear down there, and I can see it's in the right place. Can't really go anywhere else actually, and much the same as these two, but these two are obviously guided by the drum, as is this one, but this one is actually, the drum is through this one, whereas these two are on their own separate shaft, and you can see there they're all locked into place. So if they're in the groove there where they travel, I call it like the rail, round rail, groove, whatever you want to call it, then you know they're home. In fact, to be honest with you, it's such a simple system in the way that you put it all together, you can't really go wrong. Take your time if you have a go at this with any Jack multi really of the 70s, 80s. I think they're all much the same. There's obviously slight variations, but the concept is all much the same, I believe. And if we turn that, we can see all the gears move. Now bear in mind the clutch is not on, so it's not connected to the crankshaft, but we will sort that out later on. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Right, we've got the kickstarter shaft, for want of a better word, kickstarter shaft in the vise. I'm being careful here to use vice jaws so that I don't damage the shaft. I don't want to put crisscross marks on the shaft itself, because the jaws of the vise can be quite aggressive, and we're just giving it a good clean. So I'll work my way around that, and you can see, if we take that out, the difference between that side, this side and that side, and we'll take it right way down. In fact, it has left a bit of pitting there, but I think we'll probably get away with that. Buff it up. But it should come up, not as good as new, but it will come up so we can use it. So there we are. Now folks, don't know if you can see that, but I've put a little bit of oil in this hole here just to spin it, and it feels really nice. There's no play there whatsoever, which is really good. And I've cleaned up this end as well, totally different to what it was. We do have pitching, as I said here earlier. There's a little bit of pitching here, but I think we should be right with that, hopefully, he says. And that's ready to go back in. Oh, I will tidy up the very end, because that's rusty as well. We'll do that now, and then we'll get ready to put it back into the casings. Yeah, that's come up quite well actually. Shame about the pitting, but there we are. Yeah, looking good. Right, let's make preparations for putting that back in the casing. Right guys, we've done quite a bit of work, as I showed you on the last clip. Cleaned up this kickstart shaft, and it's important that it goes in a certain way. Obviously that hole there rests on that pin there, so we've cleaned all that up. It has left a bit of a stain actually. I don't know if you guys can see that on the on this bearing, but it feels good, and it's been cleaned up with a wire brush and you can't feel that stain, so that should be alright. So let's just turn that round until it goes on to the, there it is. And this is where it gets a little bit important. This little stop here, tang, it rests on this little chap. And we'll put that on first. Just going to tighten that one down, not too tight but fairly tight. And there's some little tab washers here, I don't know if you can see them. We're going to bend them up so that these can't come undone. Obviously don't forget these if you do it. You can hear the winds. Apologies guys, but it's extremely windy today. It was searing yesterday and now it's blowing a hoolie. Ooh. So that's them tightened up, they can't come undone. And we got our kickstaff mounted, and it is important to have it at that spot when you close up, and then when you put the spring in it's already home. You can actually see this. I'm going to see if I can point this out. Let me just take you off the pod. If you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it, I don't know whether the camera will pick up, but there's a bit of wear there, and that bit of wear more or less lets you know that that engages on that stop. Yeah, just a little tip there. Anyway, let's put you back in the pod. So we're slowly getting ready really to close the crankcases. Everything's tickety-boo there. I'm going to put that cam chain back down. Rest it on the crank. We've checked everything, everything's okay there. I need to put the O-ring back in there to seal it up. Now there's several of these come in the gasket set. Now, chap I know in Bristol, Martin, MR Motorcycles, he got the gasket set, and I have to say it comes in with nearly everything apart from crank seals and certain seals, and even then there are some of those in there. this is the set that we're using. So we actually got some valve seals as well, but certain things do not come with the gasket set. So obviously you need to check that, what you're going to use and what you're going to do. But these O-rings are here. So, and if you look at them, they're not actually O-rings, they're sort of elliptical. If you look at the cross section, so they clamp down really tight, and that one goes in there. Push it in, seat it home well, so that we don't get any drop in oil pressure. So I'm just going to go around the edges now on the mating surfaces to get things prepared for closing up. Another thing I need to do before I put the crankcase on top of this one is to put the crankshaft central locking journal in. Now, I cleaned that yesterday and I can't remember where I put it. There it is. And if you look carefully in there, you see there's an arrow. The arrow always points forward. I cleaned this so it's okay to go straight on. And what I tend to do is tighten 2 bolts down by hand, and there's a reason for doing that. It reminds me that it needs to be torqued, and I leave these 2 up so I can't miss it. So let's just get those 2 down. They're only finger tight, but I leave these 2 up purposely to remind me to torque this bearing cap. So that's it. We're really ready to close up. I need to obviously get myself prepared with all my goo and stick it down there. And I've been using, I'm not too sure I'll be using this again, so we might have to stop at this point. I've been using Permatech Aviation forms a gasket sealant liquid. This is quite old, so it might not be usable, but let's have a look. If I've got any doubts, we won't be using it, because you don't want to be going through something like this and then find out that you get an oil leak. I think it might be alright, actually. Yeah, it might be alright. But the wind's blowing a hoolie. I'm getting a lot of noise. So what I'm going to do is leave that there. In fact, we'll put it down there out of the way. And I think we'll probably be leaving this till next time. Last time when I was speaking to you guys, I mentioned about, let me just set that camera up. I mentioned about what I was going to do with taking that engine out, which came from the United States, which is the one I rebuilt, and that's running an absolute peach. I do need to take it out more if I'm being honest, but I did mention whether I would keep that one in there and re-register the bike, or take that one out and put the original engine. Now when I say original, it's not original to the frame number, it was done somewhere and it's not. I've had it checked by a friend of mine that works at Kawasaki Bristol and it's not, so that's a shame, but that's just the way it goes. What I can say though, and I think I might have mentioned this before, is that the one that's in there is a very, very, very early Z1 engine. I don't think it adds any more value to it. I don't know, to be honest with you. But because I've not been good with my back and I don't want to risk it, I have decided at this stage, I may change my mind, but I'm pretty sure at this stage I'm going to leave that engine in and probably re-register the bike. It feels good, it runs well, it runs tight, it runs clean, everything about that engine. The gears are lovely, they select beautifully, it's very smooth. It's typical Kawasaki of the times in the 70s, so I'll probably leave that one in. This one, I don't know. I may, when the time comes, and it's certainly not yet, when the time comes and I sell the bike, I may sell this engine with it. And anybody that wants to see about the way it was put together, obviously I will just say go look at the YouTube channel and they can see it. But that's all in the, that's all in the future. But at the moment we just need to get this one all put together. The only downside is I don't think I can test run it. If I did, I'd need to make a test bench or something like that, because I'm certainly not going to take one engine out, put one in just to run it. That would be insane. But yeah, what I'll probably do is have a chat with a few friends back in Bristol and see what we got on the line of a test bench, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do. It would be nice to see it run. Now there is a man that's got a YouTube channel, and if you haven't watched him, he is a genius when it comes to these engines. He doesn't just build them, he modifies them, and that's Alan Millyard. Go check him out. I mean, what I do is pretty basic compared to that guy. He's got a test bench which he made to put the engine in, and I think he was with Henry Cole, and I'm pretty sure they took it up to Henry's place and they run it on the back of his truck, his pickup truck, if I can say the right words, and it sounded pretty good. I think it was a Z1B engine. So I need to probably maybe look at Alan's video and see if I can try and get some idea of the way he's made that. I've got a welding outfit here, which is not very good. It's a MIG welder, but I'll probably go for stick welding if I make it. I don't think making it out of wood is probably a good idea. It might not be strong enough. But that's, as I said, that's all in the pipeline. At the moment, that's where we are at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare everything, and we'll come back later on, and we'll close the cases. You'll see me doing all that, putting all the O-rings in, making sure that everything's tickety-boo. We check and check again, and then seal it all up, and then progress with the next video. So it's Gary at Gary's Practical Workshop, and as I always say, ride safe. Sorry it's been a while, but a lot of things going on. Thanks for all your comments, thanks for your subscriptions, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio for now.